Good morning, guys. About to start this run. It's gonna be a half a marathon. This is gonna be my first time. There we go. We're at the Crown Plaza, Crystal City area getting started. So I'll send a couple updates. Good morning, guys. A little over 3 miles in. Seeing some national monuments. About a quarter of the way in, and almost to the 4 mile point, and I'll be updating you. All right, guys, so this is beautiful. Almost the 5 mile mark. The sun is starting to crest up a little bit as we're getting to gorgeous. So this is really cool. I'm almost halfway, and we're at the other end of the mall at the nation's Capitol building. Back here is the Capitol Mall. We're gonna run it back, then we're gonna dip into Arlington Cemetery and finish it off. Okay. Right at the 9 mile mark, we are at Arlington National. Beautiful. All right, guys, 12 miles in, 1.1 to go, and we're passing Reagan National Airport. Let's finish this strong. It just turned 8 o'clock, and I just hit 13.1 miles, and I've got a block and a half walk to my hotel. First half marathon. Love you, baby. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome back to the Accountability Project, where we condense the pain of personal growth and development. So today, as many of you know, I ran a half marathon, first one. So yeah, that went well. I did that up in DC. That was one of the things on my goal list. Did not anticipate doing it as quickly as I did, because we just started this middle to end of January, and now we're finishing out March, and I went from not running at all to completing a half marathon. So I'm pretty fired up about that. However, my legs are on fire. I have been tired all day. Because that was a new experience for me. I pushed my comfort zone to do something difficult. So obviously now the next step is to work on developing and strengthening those muscle groups so that I can go further. So I'm just fired up about that. Even though I'm a little bit drained, a little bit tired. It's a little bit later in the evening that I'm sitting down getting this video put together. But I wanted to stay accountable to getting it done today, because it would have been very easy to just go to sleep, especially because right now I keep referring to people as though there's a bunch of people watching, because I know there's going to be. But right now, there ain't nobody watching. Like nobody. Like I get a couple views here and there, and I'm okay with that because I'm developing a skill set. And that's the point of this video series, is to be able to go back and watch the grind from beginning to a final product. What that final product is, I don't know. Maybe it'll be continuously a growth project. I have no idea. But this is about the grind and staying accountable to your vision, your goal, and what you said you were going to do. So today in the Science of Success, we moved into section 3. And this chapter really kind of set the tone for the next several chapters. And what they did was they took articles from a newspaper where there was a series done by Napoleon Hill about success. And so it was 17 principles that were published in shorter, more condensed form over a period of 18 articles. So this was the first article that was just letting people know that, hey, that the next 17 articles are going to be about the science of success, the 17 principles, and being able to apply them in your life. But the foundation of this is that because of the advancement of technology and how new things are constantly being created, there are new problems to be solved. There are problems now that didn't exist 50 years ago. And because of that, we have gaps that we can fill and services that we can provide. And by bringing value to the marketplace, we're able to create wealth. So if you think in terms of new problems that didn't exist 50 years ago, things like phone chargers. There was no need for phone chargers 50 years ago because we didn't have cell phones. You didn't need car chargers for your cell phone. Dialing back from going from horse and buggy to cars. Once we had cars, now tire shops were a necessity, right? Because now that we have cars that use rubber tires, we need to be able to provide something in the marketplace, and it has value because so many people have cars that we need tires, right? And so being able to be on the front end and seeing a trend is beautiful, but realizing that we are never going to run out of possibilities because technology is constantly advancing in every area of our lives. So there's always going to be new areas where we can fill the void, so to speak, provide the service that is needed because new needs are constantly being created. Next up, the power of the other. This chapter was interesting. It was just called From Outside In, and the whole chapter was about internalizing viewpoints, how we internalize things that are said to us, values that are imparted on us, and how we can leverage the ability to create scenarios of internalizing. So they use the example of a CEO who wanted to set up his company so that when he left, that the company would continue to move forward without him. And that requires a succession plan, and that requires the fact that he created environments where his leaders could internalize his values and the things that the way he solved problems, so that when he was gone, things would continue to run smoothly. You can think of it too in the aspect of a father-son or father-daughter or mommy-daughter scenario where we want to impart our values in our children so that when they're walking through life, they hear the voice of dad in their head, and it's a positive thing for them. It's something that builds a future for them that they desire. So if they're looking at boys to date, you want your daughter to go hear her dad's voice saying, I don't think he's good enough for you. Are you sure he's good enough for you? Or is he just trying to get with you? Is he trying to add value to your life, or is he trying to take something from you? And creating that internal dialogue. I know as I share this too, some of us have internal dialogues that are negative, but they've been internalized. And so the beautiful thing about neuroplasticity is that it allows us to create new ones. Now, in order to do that, we need to make sure that one, the association that we keep is at a higher level, but two, we need to be intentional about it, because we can create new dialogues, but we need to know what we're doing, and we need structure. Structure is what allows us to develop the self-sufficiency to not need the structure, right? You almost need to be an employee for a certain amount of time to learn accountability in certain areas before you can start to not necessarily need micromanagement, and then not necessarily need someone telling you what to do in order to do it. We see this in the military a lot. There's a lot of people in the military who never internalize the discipline that they receive while they're in the military, and this does themselves a disservice, not anyone else, but themselves and those around them a disservice, because if they had internalized those disciplines, then when they left the military, they would maintain that same discipline. Even as I'm saying this, there's a handful of people that stick out, like David Goggins, who maintained the discipline that he learned in the military. And because of that, he's built an empire, because he simply maintained what he'd learned by internalizing it and making it a part of who he was. So fired up about this chapter and excited to see where we go next. With that, this has been the Accountability Project. Condense the pain, stay accountable, and we'll talk to you soon. Bloop.